On August 21, 2016, a man named Dion put up 10,000 posters about a lost little dog in China. Dion, who didn't speak Chinese very well, kept asking people on the streets if they had seen the dog. This message quickly spread among the locals on social media, and everyone started searching the streets to help. What seemed like a small incident caught the attention of major media outlets and became a big deal. It's surprising that a lost dog became so famous that even the Queen of England wanted to meet her. Later, Dion and the dog story was translated into 17 languages and became known around the world. Hollywood was even planning to make a movie about them. Today, we're going to talk about the touching story of this British athlete and the Chinese stray dog. Back on June 19, 2016, a race called the Gobi March was held in China. This race was also known as the Hell Marathon because it was a super tough desert race. Over 100 expert and enthusiast racers from all over the world came to compete. During the race, the runners had to face extreme conditions. They ran across the tall Tian Shan Mountains, rocky Gobi deserts, dry sand deserts, and through a windy place called the Devil City. They did this over 7 days, covering a total of 250 kilometers. The weather was super hot, nearly 50 degrees Celsius during the day. The first person to finish would be the winner, and the racers had to take care of all their own needs: food, water, a place to sleep, everything for the whole week, unless they decided to quit the race. There was no help from the race staff unless someone gave up and dropped out. A British athlete named Dion Leonard had been preparing for 3 years for this race. The night before the race started, he ran into a stray dog that was looking for food by a trash can. He gave the dog some snacks he had with him and then went back to his tent to get ready for the race. But something unexpected happened the next morning. Dion was surprised to find the same stray dog at the starting line. At first, Dion thought the dog was just there for more food and didn't pay much attention to it. However, as he ran, he realized the dog was following him. Just like that, the picture of a man and a dog running together appeared on the desolate Gobi Desert. Dion thought the dog would follow him for a little while and then leave on its own. But to his surprise, the dog kept up with him for over 30 kilometers that day. The dog continued to follow Dion for the next few days of the race. Since they met in China's Gobi Desert, Dion named the dog Gobi, after the desert's Chinese pronunciation. Races like these can be super lonely, but Gobi gave Dion a lot of comfort and encouragement. Gobi was no burden. Instead, she became the best partner Dion could have hoped for on the dull and demanding tracks. They shared food and water, and at night, they camped together under the endless stars of the Gobi Desert. When the path led them through rivers and difficult terrains that Gobi couldn't cross, Dion would turn back and select an alternative route to ensure Gobi could follow. Together, man and dog supported each other, creating a bond that grew stronger with each passing mile. Incredibly, Gobi managed to run over 100 kilometers with Dion, crossing the towering Tian Shan Mountains and the vast Gobi Sands. But as they entered the final 50 kilometers of the race, Gobi grew weak and collapsed on the desert sands. Dion, who had grown deeply attached to the little dog over the days, stopped his race to call for help. He waited until a rescue team arrived and took Gobi to a medical vehicle before he continued his journey. Despite being weak, Gobi refused to stay in the tent and insisted on waiting for Dion at the finish line every day. Standing strong against the harsh sun, Dion, running the remaining distance without Gobi by his side, kept repeating to himself after the race, "I'm taking you home." 3 days later, when Dion appeared in Gobi's sight, the little dog broke free from his caretakers and ran determinedly towards Dion. Together, they crossed the finish line. Dion won second place, but more importantly, Gobi won the hearts of everyone there. The race organizers even made a special medal just for Gobi. Dion said that without Gobi, he might not have had the motivation to finish the race. He didn't regret missing the chance to win first place because Gobi was the best prize of his journey. After the race, Dion wanted to bring Gobi, who had become his beloved friend, back to the UK with him. However, due to complicated procedures for taking animals out of the country and Dion's visa nearing expiration, he decided to return home to sort everything out and left Gobi in the care of the race staff temporarily. Dion flew back to his home in Edinburgh and started looking into how he could adopt Gobi from China. By August 2016, after a lot of hard work getting the adoption papers ready in the UK, Dion got a heartbreaking call from China. Gobi was lost. Worried sick, Dion hopped on the next flight to China, fearing all the dangers Gobi might face alone. After a long 16-hour flight, he arrived, determined to find his friend. Back in the UK, Dion's co-workers, and some charities had heard about Gobi. They raised money to help Dion bring Gobi back to the UK. Gobi had gotten lost in Urumqi, a big city with 3 million people. Finding a lost little dog in such a huge place was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Dion couldn't do it alone, so he made 10,000 flyers and, despite the scorching sun and his limited Chinese, he asked people on the streets over and over again. This touching story moved many people in Urumqi, and they started to help Dion look for Gobi. The search got a lot of media attention, and even the Australian embassy in China helped by sharing the story on social media. Dion said it was Gobi who had chosen him, and now he had to find Gobi no matter what. With more and more kind locals joining the search, it turned into a big community effort. Delivery drivers, sanitation workers, street vendors, and security guards all started sharing information. They saw several stray dogs that looked like Gobi, but none were the right match, either the wrong gender or no reaction to Dion. But then, on the evening of August 24th, just when Dion was losing hope, a kind local called him. With a nervous heart, Dion went to a small house, and there he finally found Gobi again, injured and with a scar on his head. But as soon as he saw Dion, Gobi yelped and jumped right into his arms. Dion hugged Gobi, crying with joy. Dion decided to cancel all other races and stayed to take care of Gobi. The man who was once only obsessed with racing turned into a tender and caring father figure by Gobi's side. With Dion's loving care, Gobi quickly recovered. Moved by everyone's support, Dion decided to write a book about their incredible adventure, called Finding Gobi. By January 2017, after 6 months of recovery and getting all the necessary paperwork done, Dion brought Gobi to the UK. There, Dion's wife, kids, and even their cat were all ready with a big welcome party for Gobi. Today, Gobi is an essential part of Dion's family. They go running and play together, and they even celebrate Chinese New Year for Gobi. Dion's book, Finding Gobi, became a huge hit, translated into 17 languages, reprinted 6 times, and recognized as one of the year's bestsellers by the New York Times. It was even turned into a children's storybook. Gobi became quite the celebrity in the UK, appearing on TV shows and taking photos with Hollywood stars. The Queen, who loves pets, invited Gobi to Buckingham Palace. 20th Century Fox was so taken with Dion and Gobi's story that they decided to make a movie about it. But when Disney bought Fox's film assets 2 years later, they dropped the movie project. Now, Sony Pictures and the Chinese company Tencent have grabbed the rights to Finding Gobi. They're planning to turn it into a feature film that we might see in theaters pretty soon. In May 2017, Dion and Gobi went back to China for the Great Wall Marathon. By 2019, they were at the Paris Marathon, making Gobi the first dog to participate there. Their unexpected meeting has touched many hearts and forever changed both of their lives. Gobi was lucky, and so was Dion. Their friendship across species has inspired countless people, showing us all how deep and true friendship can go. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. If you enjoyed this content and are interested in exploring more stories like this, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.